Hello, hey guys, what's up? How are you guys today? I'm excited to be here in this group. Most won't, I will. My name is Rachel Gilmore, and I'm going to provide a session to you today. We're going to talk about reprogramming the subconscious mind so that you can achieve a life of success across all the areas of your life, in your health, in your business, in your career, in your relationships, and all of the areas that you want. So first of all, I just want to say thanks for all the questions. Had some really great questions show up. I'm going to go through them and answer them all. I just kind of want to dive in a little bit to some of the basics and the fundamentals of NLP so that you can kind of understand the foundation. And so the foundation is what every single solitary thing is built on. So everything we talk about today is first built on that foundation. So make sure that you guys can hear me okay. If you can hear me, just maybe send me a little note and say I can hear you just fine. Lovely world of Facebook Lives. So let's just jump right in. So a lot of these questions are kind of overlapping because the path is similar along all of the areas, along all of the questions. And so there's a couple of things that I want you to remember that will kind of tie into each one of the questions. And that is, I'm going to ask you the question, how intentionally are you living your life? How intentionally are you living your life? So you're either living very intentionally or you're living by default. And we're going to talk a little bit about default. And another word that we could use to describe default is your programming, is your habits. And we know that habits serve us because if we didn't have habits, then we would forget to brush our teeth and we'd forget how to get to work, right? So habits serve us, but they also can be the thing that kind of holds us back from where we want it to get in our life because of that programming. So the programming is one of the ways to unprogram is to live very intentionally. And then you kind of have that contrast, noticing this action isn't helping me closer to get to where I want to get, to where I want to be. And so making that shift from, okay, recognizing this is a habit and this is a programming and this is where I want to be, and that is by living very intentionally. So the foundations of NLP are mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And so let's just touch on that really super quick before I start answering some of these questions. Mental is your mindset. It's the way that you think about the world, okay? Your emotions are your energy in motion. And we're going to talk a lot about energy because energy is kind of key to changing your mindset. In fact, if you want to change your behaviors, you have to change your state. And your state is kind of your energetic state of being. So your mindset, your emotions, which is your energy in motion, your physical body, which I know Gary did a great video prior to this on the physical body. Physical body is extremely important. That's actually at the very bottom, and that is from what everything else is built on, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And then spirituality. Spirituality is very important. And it doesn't matter per se what your belief system is, but having faith and having the ability to trust and to surrender and to connect in with that spirituality piece is very, very important. And so having the four of those in alignment is the foundation. So a lot of times clients will come to me and they will be struggling with a specific issue, and it solves itself because we have all of the answers already within us when you get into alignment, when spiritually you're connected in, and then mentally you're thinking clearly and right, and emotionally your energy is in motion in the right place and you're reacting properly. And then your physical body is well taken care of, nourished, and healthy and fit. And then you can show up as a whole being and go out into the world and create whatever it is that you're creating with this really strong foundation. So let's start with some of these questions. And I got a few more after I printed them out. So the first one from Val is asking about thoughts on unraveling childhood issues. And while this is not something so what I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to tie in a lot of what I do. A lot of it is NLP, but a lot of it is some of the other work that I've also studied and practiced too, when I kind of integrate and tie them all together. So I believe that childhood issues, so if we go back to the programming, right? Programming comes from childhood. And they say when we're about 7 years old, we already have a pretty programmed mind and our belief systems are pretty set. So your programming from childhood is what creates your thoughts. Your thoughts is what creates your emotions. Your emotions are what create your actions, and then your actions is where you get results. So if you're not getting the results that you want, you can go back and look at your actions, and then you can dive a little bit deeper, and you can say, okay, what is the emotions behind these actions? And then what are the thoughts that I'm having about them? And then what is the programming that is the reason why I'm having this thought? So going back and looking at childhood issues, inner child work is extremely important, in my opinion, to kind of reprogramming the subconscious mind. Because when you have the awareness of the way that you've been programmed, then you can, it's like, right now, it's sitting, back here in the subconscious mind. You have this programming, and maybe the programming is that you're never going to amount to anything, because maybe somebody in school or friends or parent, whoever, made you believe that you weren't good enough. That's your programming. And so going back and identifying that as not truth, as your not true self, but rather a programming, you kind of shine the light on it and you can see the truth, then that empowers you to say, okay, even though I believe that, and even though I was programmed to believe that, I have the ability to change that. And some of the modalities in NLP can help you change those very quickly. The one thing I will say is that on a call like this, it's not recommended to do some of the modalities, simply because to be a good practitioner, I have to create a rapport with you. So just kind of generally talking to you, it's really hard for me to connect with you and feel that rapport coming back. So it's hard to do some of these modalities to get them to stick, if that makes sense. So we're not going to go into any specific, I can't do any techniques with you today just because I'm not sure if we've created enough of a rapport. And I don't want you to say, hey, NLP doesn't work, because it actually really does work. That's actually a really good one, Meg, too. I was too programmed that I wasn't allowed to get up from the table until I eat all of my food. And in fact, I had an older brother who sat next to me who would eat the food off of my plate if I didn't. So I learned to eat really quickly. But going back and kind of understanding some of these things, I was able then to be empowered and say, no, I can actually eat my food very slowly, and I don't have to finish everything on my plate. In fact, it feels really empowering to leave some of this food on my plate. So that's kind of the awareness, right, of that programming. And then once you have the awareness, then you can set your intentions and be very intentional and very disciplined about creating something new. So childhood issues, definitely it's something that you can visit. Once you have the awareness, then you can go in and do the work on changing it, depending on your level of consciousness. It may be something that you want to work with somebody on, or it may be something that you could do by yourself, again, depending on how intentional you are about, what Meg just said. Hey, I have this awareness that I was programmed to eat all the food on my plate. It might not be serving her today, right? So that's something maybe you could do on your own. Let's see. Isaac says, I tend to be a little obsessive and ramble on random subjects when he talks. I'd love to be able to shut that off, as well as negative thoughts and controlling my emotions. So this goes back to what are your intentions? Setting your intentions before you ever walk out of your house during the day. So for me, and the work that I do, it is extremely important for me that my morning routine is my morning routine has got to be on point, meaning that I have to get myself in an energetic space, an energetic frequency. I have to be energetically where when I walk out that door, I have the ability to create a rapport with people. I have the ability to just observe without reacting. My energy that's in motion is good energy, and I'm grounded, I'm rooted. So what my morning routine might look like is I get up before I even get out of bed, I do Wim Hof breathing, which I recommend to everybody in the world to do some form of breathing exercise, but Wim Hof is my preference. I also do some infrared light therapy while I'm still in the bed. And then I read and I journal and I write out my goals, and I have this whole list of things I do, and then I get up and I immediately exercise before I ever touch my phone in the morning, because what that does, it energetically grounds me. I am focused very specifically on what it is that I'm here to do. What are my goals? What are my objectives? How do I want to face the world today? And when I'm really crystal clear on this, then it helps me step out into the world, and no matter what's happening around me, I can go at it not from a place of me trying to, I'm not trying to change anybody or do anything for anybody. I'm here to observe so that I can use my gifts to help other people. So I'm here to show up in a way to create a rapport or create relationships where I can create change. But if I'm not on that mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, if I don't start my day off with that foundation, then I'm more likely to be charged emotionally if somebody does something that I don't like. I might be driving down the road and somebody flips me off and I, want to yell back at them. So getting myself in that routine in the morning prevents me from having things like that happen. So let's say I'm having a conversation with people, then I can go into what is the purpose of this conversation. It's not about me. Maybe I just want to listen. Maybe I just want to hear what they have to say. Maybe I just want to be an observer. And one of the things we learn in NLP is you can create a rapport with somebody, and you can tell it by their expressions. You can tell it by them matching and mirroring your movements. You can tell it by the skin color. You can tell it by their eyes. You can begin to notice. And so one of the things I did when I went through NLP training is I would go and instead of me talking, I would maybe ask questions. I became a professional question asker, and then I would just listen. And people will tell you everything you need to know when you just listen. So I just would show up and listen with no intentions of doing anything other than just really listening to understand people. And that has helped me so much throughout all of my life over the last couple of years, is just listening to understand people, about creating a rapport with people. And you notice people will say things to me like, I can't believe I'm sharing this with you. I never share this with anybody. I'm never really this vulnerable with anybody. People begin to tell you, and you know that you're in rapport with them. So begin to just notice that. So for Isaac, I would say if you're going and you find yourself rambling about certain subjects and you want to shut that off, just begin to listen. Just listen to what people have to say. Just watch their expressions, and then notice if you're able to create a rapport with them. Notice if you're able to build a relationship with them, and just see if that helps you, and just maybe breathe, maybe focus on your breathing. Maybe before you go into a room full of people or whatever the situation you're in, maybe you start doing a breathing technique, or maybe you start meditating. I would definitely recommend that for you, is to do some breathing. If somebody triggers something in you while you're having a conversation with them, just observe what is happening in your body. Notice, where do I feel this in my body? Do I feel this in my stomach? Do I feel this in my chest? Where am I feeling this? And where is this potentially coming from? So then you start to self-coach yourself. It's like, okay, I noticed they said something. It triggered an emotion in me. And instead of me having a response, I'm just gonna notice what that's doing in my body. I'm gonna notice how that makes me feel. I'm gonna notice what that brings up in me. And instead of reacting, just be a professional noticer. Just start to notice what's going on in your environments. And that's a practice. So again, all of this is a practice. You don't go from point A to point B without practicing. Not in anything in life. We could talk about famous athletes and musicians and everything, the practice is the key to this. It's getting really clear on what you want. It's setting your intentions, and then it's just disciplining yourself to do the daily practice. And that's really when you can begin to embody the thing that you're practicing, because there's a lot of people out there running around who have all this great head knowledge, but they're not embodying it. And we can tell by their energetic state of being, right? Because maybe they have all this head knowledge and we don't want to be around them because they all just want to tell us what they know, versus somebody that you're around and they're very comfortable in who they are. And because they're embodying the thing, and then they're not trying to impress you by telling what they know, you can just be around them and it's comfortable to be around them. And that comes through practice. So I believe that if you do this practice, then you won't feel the need to just ramble. That'll automatically shut off on its own. Can you share a story about a specific NLP technique that helped you convert? Yes. So actually, I just did this last Wednesday, I believe it was. I had a meeting with a potential client. I think that this was the second or third meeting. I've known this guy for 3 years. Very type A personality. I have really been intentional about holding safe space for this guy to come around when he was ready, because I knew in the back of his mind he believed that he needed to work with maybe a male coach, because he would talk with me and then he ended up hiring a male coach and then he came back. Anyways, long story short, okay, I'm sitting with this guy. It's our second or third meeting, and I'm practicing building a rapport with him. And I have been doing this. I've been doing this for 2 years. I've been nurturing this relationship. And so we sit down and I'm matching and mirroring him. His movements, he does this, I do this. And it's very subtle. I do it in a very subtle way, He's this, I might, do this. He leans back, I'm kind of leaning back. He leans in, I'm leaning in. I'm listening very intentionally to everything that he says, and then I'm using his words. So he tells me what it is that he wants. Then I use his word to tell him what he wants, right? So I'm building a rapport with him where he not just knows, likes, and trusts me, but that he can tell that I'm actively listening. Like his subconscious mind is like, yes, I have this rapport with her. And so I believe that in all of the things that you're doing, building relationships is so critical. Building rapport with people is so critical. And the best way to do that is through active listening, is through being engaged, is through paying attention and through listening. So I was able to convert him into a client after 2 years, really because of the practice that I've been doing of really paying attention and listening and creating that rapport with him and building that trust factor with him. Never at any time am I really trying to sell him, because I don't need to sell him, because he knows what I'm doing. He's seeing clients that I'm working with having results. So he knows. It's just that he needed to have that rapport built because he's worked with other coaches that maybe weren't getting him the results that he wanted. So he was a little bit skeptical, and that happens all the time. So I just, I just built that rapport with him and just did active listening, and then repeated back to him what it was that he wanted, and then explained how I could help him get there. But he felt safe because of that rapport that was built with him. Does that make sense? I hope that answered your question. Let's see. Next question. Where did I learn NLP? Well, I'll tell you this. I first, I've been to a couple of Tony Robbins events, and if you know Tony Robbins, he's NLP, and so I got very interested in NLP. Some of the things that he was teaching really intrigued me, and I noticed how I would feel differently at his events versus other events that I went to. And some of it is, if you've ever been to his events, you understand that he talks about changing your energy, okay? And I mentioned that at the beginning of this. It's all about changing your energy to change our habits or to change our patterns. So when we look at ourselves as these energetic beings, we can't change in the same energy that created the problem. Does that make sense? So if energetically you created this problem in your mind or in this You have this programming. You can't change that programming in the same energy. So he talks about pattern interrupts. And I'm like, what is a pattern interrupt? I have to know what a pattern interrupt, because my mind is so curious and I want to know. So I start researching, how do you create pattern interrupts? And then I notice at his events, he has this jumping, like we're jumping like crazy, like jumping, like burning thousands of calories at Tony Robbins events because you're jumping. And so I just got really interested in this, the concept of changing your energy and these pattern disrupts. And so I went online and actually did a Udemy course that I purchased and did NLP. It was not a certification, just because I wanted to simply learn about it so I could actually coach my clients a little bit better. And the more that I started researching and learning about it, I'm kind of like this geek in this way. I was like, I need to know more about how the brain works in the subconscious mind. So then I eventually dove in. It's NLP.com with Dr. Matt is who I actually went through. You go to a live training and they have them in various places around the country. And then you do an online course to get certified. But yeah, so changing your energy is key, right? Changing energy. We're gonna talk a little bit about more of that as I get into some of these questions. Let's see, what else? Working on improving my subconscious mind, Think and Grow Rich for Women. Okay, this one here, what you believe you will achieve. So I have a couple of questions for you, and this is programming. This is about understanding your programming. So if you're in a place where you're repeating to yourself what you believe you achieve, what you think about you bring about, and I'm hoping that you're being really intentional about getting in tune with what it is that you're actually thinking about. So great book for this is The Untethered Soul. The Untethered Soul is one of my all-time favorite books. It's kind of a deep read, but one of the things that he talks about, it's written by Michael Singer. Michael Singer talks about getting into your brain and recognizing that the voice isn't you. You can think of it as a roommate. So I've got this roommate, right? And my roommate's constantly talking and constantly talking, and recognizing it's not you. It might be it's a programming. So understanding your programming and then changing that programming. So what you think about, you bring about. But so remember, your programming creates your thoughts, creates your emotions, creates your actions, creates your results. So understanding what you're thinking about, and then maybe going back and understanding where this programming for this thought came from. And the really critical part here is that you understand that it's not your truth, right? So as children, we give meaning to everything. We literally give meaning to everything. We make up stories in our minds about these things, and we give it meaning, and we assign this identity to it, and we believe that it's us, and it's not really us, because the truth of who you are is you are love. You are like this unconditional love. You're pure joy. And so everything is to get you to the truth of who you really are. So we're peeling back these not true self layers so that we can get to the truth of who you are. So understanding that everything is just a programming, everything. And then, okay, how do I reprogram? Okay, so my thought is, I'm not good at this, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not creative, or I'm not. So then you start to reframe that to I am. And then we can't change in the same energy in which it was created. So that's where I'm gonna say, get outside of your comfort zone and go do something that's gonna change your energy. Go outside. This is why affirmations don't really work. And if you understand this will change your entire life. Like if you really understand this right here, that if your subconscious mind and your conscious mind are not in rapport, then you can say affirmations all day long. And your subconscious mind, if it's not in rapport with your conscious mind, it's gonna sit back here and go, no, go ahead. Keep saying that. You can keep saying that, but I'm not in agreement with you. Because if your subconscious mind really believes that you're not good enough and your conscious mind is saying, I'm good enough, your subconscious mind is going to win 100% of the time. So you have to change that energy. So having the understanding that that was a lie, that's not my true self, that's not the truth of who I am. Go outside, get in nature, go exercise, do jumping jacks, listen to music and start dancing, and then start like communicating and building a rapport with that subconscious mind. This is where the inner child works. Maybe you go sit down in front of a mirror and you look in the mirror and you look deeply into your eyes, into your subconscious mind, and you say, I love you. You're worthy of being loved. You are good enough. You are beautiful. You are amazing. You are all the things you want to say. And you do it from a different energy. So you get yourself in that hyped up energy, like Tony Robbins events where he gets everybody jumping up and down and doing these crazy things. Get yourself in that elevated state of energy where energetically you are on a different level, and then go get in front of that mirror and create rapport with your subconscious mind. Then it will begin to stick. And so I wish that everybody had this concept that's out there talking about affirmations, affirmations, affirmations. They're great, but they're only great if your conscious mind is in rapport with your subconscious mind. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope so. And I hope that answered your question. So keep doing those. That's fantastic. That's amazing. That's great. But get in a different energy to do it. That's really the key to it. All right, next question comes from Aiden. I'm not going to read all this because it's kind of long, but I get the gist of it. He's struggling with some people, and I'm going to say this about struggling with some people. When you are on the trajectory of raising your vibrational frequency to love, one of two things are going to happen. You're either going to have people who are going to say, I want to elevate myself with you, or that is repulsive to me. Okay, and then there's so many factors. We're not even gonna try to get into all the factors of where it is, but you have to understand that people are where they are, and every single human on this planet is doing the very best they can with the resources that they have. So give them permission to sit wherever it is that they are. Give them permission to come along with you, or give them permission to stay where they are. And so when you do that, that takes the weight off of you. Your job is to focus on you. Your job is to keep moving up that scale to the vibrational frequency of unconditional love, and not really worry about what anybody else is doing. This is probably the hardest when you're in a relationship with somebody that you love, like a spouse, and you're growing and they're not, and then they become a little bit repulsed by you, and they start, there's that dissonance, there's that contrast created, and really your job is not to judge them. Your job is not to get upset with them. Your job is just to hold safe space for them to be as they are, and keep the focus on you, keep the energy on you. Because whatever you do give energy to is what expands. So if you're giving energy to these people who are struggling with the fact that you're moving ahead in a way that's uncomfortable for them, because based on their programming, it's uncomfortable to see you grow, because now they don't have that rapport with you that maybe they once had. So it's like the crabs in the bucket, right? They're trying to pull you down back to their level. So just be okay with that. Just be like, it's okay. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to let you be where you are. I'm going to love you where you are, because I understand that you're doing the very best that you can with the resources that you have. And it's just my job to keep rising up and elevating. And sometimes they'll see you get to the top, and then they'll start asking you. The people who are criticizing you, we see memes about this all over social media sometimes. Like the very people who are hating you one day want you to sign their book, right? So just keep focusing on you, put all your energy on you, and let that dissonance, be okay with you. I get that one too. Let's see, what was the actual question? What ways to deal with it and not let it affect me so much? Well, that's focusing your energy. It's all about focusing your energy. It is, what is unconditional love? Unconditional love is loving people the way they are without expecting anything. You just love them as they are. And this is a really hard thing to do, because we don't love ourselves unconditionally. So I would say fall in love with yourself unconditionally, love yourself unconditionally, and the more that you do that, the more that you will actually be able to hold safe space for other people to be exactly as they are, and just have compassion for them, just have empathy for them, just understand that they must be in a great deal of pain in order to not support you on their journey. We don't know what's going on in their subconscious mind. We don't know what their programming is, but they're doing the best that they can. So just love them as they are, and just focus your energy on you and where you want to go and what you want to do, and just love them. I mean, that's the truth, is you just have to show them grace, no matter what and how they treat you. Does that answer your question? Let me know if it doesn't. because I can go a little bit deeper into that. I could go a little bit deeper into all these, but there's a lot, so I want to make sure I get them all answered. How do I become more assertive in negotiations? I would say it's, this is from Caleb. It's not so much about being more assertive per se, but it's about coming in there with an energy of confidence, not arrogance. It's coming in there with this energy of, if we're going to look at a vibrational frequency scale of energy, right? What energy are you vibrating at? Are you in fear? Because a fear energy would be, I need. A love energy would be like, I know that there's enough abundance in this world for all of us, and I know that if I match that energy, it's going to come to me anyways. See the difference there? The fear is, I need to be better at negotiating. And it's not about that. It's about you being you truly, authentically, and then the right people are going to connect with you, and you're going to create that rapport, and then it's going to happen. Does that make sense? So I would say it's about getting yourself grounded and rooted and checking in. Am I in alignment? Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, am I in alignment? Am I in a good place to go into this conversation and actually build a rapport instead of trying to make my point made? So maybe it's active listening, and then it's about coming back to them with, if you're good at what you do, and you can actively listen and say, and they're telling you what they need, and then you repeat back to them what it is that they want, and you've already got a rapport created with them, you're going to win. And you may not win today, but practicing until it just becomes natural who you are, then it's just going to be easily and effortlessly. And I'll give you a little example. So I have a friend of mine who we went to a real estate event together, and he walks in the room and he's immediately like starts talking to people and like starts trying to sell them, and hey, can I get your business card? And I'm watching, and after 3 or 4 people, we come up to this one guy, and this guy's like, I'm an investor and I'm here to invest, and my friend's like, oh, I want him to invest. So he's like trying to talk to him and trying to tell him what he's doing, trying to get his business card. And the guy's like, I don't have any business cards. And he's like, hey, can I get your number? He's like, no. So it's kind of funny. So we walk away from this guy, and I'm like, hey man, you're doing this all wrong. You're like flying out the mouth, and you're not listening. You're not building a rapport. And he's like, well, what would you do? And I said, well, do you think that I can do this? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, give me 5 minutes. So I went to that guy. I didn't like walk up to him. I kind of watched around the room. I see him standing over in the corner, and I just happened, to casually be walking by, and I don't even know how, but I started up a conversation with him. I built a rapport, found out that he had just been in Bali. I was on my way back to Bali for the second time. We started talking about Bali. He wants to know why I'm in Bali, tell him how much I'm in love with Bali. He said it was a place who changed his life. I said it was a place who changed my life. He asked me what I do. I tell him I'm a coach and NLP and stuff. He's the same thing. Like, he's been through all these same trainings. So I built a rapport with him. 5 minutes, 6 minutes, maybe 7 minutes after talking to him, he's like, we need to connect. We need to have lunch. Here's my number. So I go back to my friend, and I'm like, I show him my phone. I'm like, I got the guy's number. He's like, how in the world did you do that? I said, I built a rapport with him. I found a common ground that we could connect on. I didn't try to sell him anything. My objective was not to sell him anything. My objective was to build a relationship in which he wanted my contact information, and that's exactly what I did. So that's really what you have to do, is you have to go into all of these situations as, I'm not really trying to sell anything, because I know that I am raising myself to the vibrational frequency of love or abundance, and it's going to come to me anyways. I just have to be my true authentic self, and I have to check in that I'm in alignment, and I show up and I create rapport, and I build relationships with people, and then the actions are going to take care of themselves. Does that make sense? Okay, I hope that answered your question, Caleb. It's just about you connecting with yourself and being the truth of who you are, showing up and creating rapport. What is the best book you would recommend for NLP? So the best ones that I've read, Richard Bandler, he's amazing. He's kind of one of the ones who kind of brought NLP to the world. And my favorite one is How to Take Charge of Your Life by Richard Bandler. I also really like Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief, and I watch a lot of Bruce Lipton stuff on YouTube. I also, and there's another question in here, I think I was going to answer that too. I also watch Joe Dispenza, and Joe Dispenza's got a lot of really good books. He talks a lot about meditation and how to reprogram the subconscious mind through meditation. Breaking the habit of being yourself. But yeah, if you look up Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Michael Bandler, you can find books from all of them. Sometimes I like to listen to their audiobooks because reading it gets a little bit deep and I can actually integrate a little bit better through Audible. I don't know if you're more of a reader or listener, but yeah, those are some really great books. Okay, this is from Brianna. Took a break as a mom. What are some techniques I can use to get back into my game? So here's a question for you. This is a question that I would ask all of you, actually. I'm gonna take a drink of water here. What is getting back into the game? And if you had to say, if I asked you the question, what is your highest purpose for being on this earth right here, right now, today? What do you feel like your highest purpose is? Whatever you came up with, we might chunk that down and kind of get into something, because really that is your boss, especially if you're a business owner. Because there are some days I get up and I'm a little less motivated. Like, for example, I'm not a fan of the cold. I really don't like rainy, dreary, dark weather. I'm not a huge fan of the holidays. I like to escape to like Indonesia or somewhere during the cold and the dark because I'm just not a fan of it. So anyways, on some days I have to ask myself, what is my highest purpose for being on this earth? And what is it that I'm really here to do? And that is my boss. That is, and then what is that demanding of me? What is that requiring of me that I do, that I'm committed to, that I'm disciplined to? And then it's not about me anymore. And so then it kind of evokes this emotion, right? And emotion is energy in motion, where I can move. So that emotion that's evoked in me, then I am interested in taking action from a place of alignment. So then I'll do my morning routine to where I get into alignment, I make sure I'm in alignment, and then I check in with my highest purpose. What is it demanding that I do today? How can I get back in this game? How can I serve humanity? How can I serve the world? What can I do? Maybe today I need to go to a soup kitchen and feed some people. Maybe today I need to get out and go hike a mountain. So I let that kind of be my guiding light, and connecting in with myself and what it is that really brings me the most joy and the most fulfillment. And then I'm motivated. I'm like, heck yeah, I'm here to do this. I'm here to change the world. I'm here to make a difference. People need me. There are people on their knees right now praying and begging God for a solution to their problems that I have the answer to. And so how do I get in front of them? What does that look like? Do I need to go networking? Do I need to do Facebook Lives? Do I need to, right? So then I let that emotion that's evoked in me do the projection of where it is that I take action, what I do. And I do this on a regular basis. And this is how I live my life very intentionally. I have whiteboards up on my office, and I'm constantly writing my goals on my whiteboard. I actually write my goals every morning. And then I check in before I walk out my door. What is the energy that I'm walking out the door with? Because if you're a business owner or you're an entrepreneur or you're in some service industry, your energy precedes you. And what I mean by energy is your state of being. What is the energy that you're putting out there? It's a reflection of you. So if you find yourself walking in somewhere and the first person you run into is like grumpy or irritable or moody, you're like, maybe you need to check in. What is your energy? How are you showing up in the world? Because a lot of times people show up to mirror back to us who we really are and how we really feel about ourselves. And I got off track there for a second about this, but I really think for you, getting back into the game is about what's the reason why you're doing this in the first place? And then what is that asking of you? And how can you make it fun? And again, maybe you need to shift your energy. So maybe you can't try to get back into the game in the same energy that you got out of the game in. Maybe you need to get out into nature. Maybe you need to turn on some music and dance and let your mind get out of its way and really, what is the reason why you want to get back in the game? Okay, let's see. What are a few go-to techniques which can be applied daily that will reprogram the subconscious mind? I think we've been talking about a lot of that. I think the big thing is noticing that everything that we believe is an object that is an obstacle is actually here to show us where we might be out of alignment. So let's say, for example, you wake up and you're not feeling well, or you're sick, or you've got, like recently I actually had some sciatica pain and my whole right leg went numb. And I noticed that every new level of consciousness that I get to, that I have something show up that feels like an obstacle, but what it really is for me to check in and see where I need to upgrade or release limited beliefs in order to get to the next level. So actually obstacles are showing me that I'm on the right path, that I'm doing the right thing. So when I run into this obstacle, I'm like, okay, what is this here to show me, or what is this here to teach me? And again, that goes back to living very intentionally. So I went in and I did some meditation, and I kind of grounded myself, and I actually picked up the phone and I got on the phone with a mentor of mine who's in Europe who does like body work like this, and she took me through an exercise, and it was some of the foundations, some of my programming from early childhood where I didn't feel supported was showing up on my right side and my right leg. And so feeling supported and moving forward. Here I am moving forward and up-leveling and taking my business and my life to new levels. And this obstacle shows up to show me that I'm actually on the right path. And not only am I on the right path, but that I need to release some of those old programmings, those old belief systems about not being supported, so that I can actually up level to the next level. Does that make sense? So notice what you might perceive as an obstacle or what you might perceive as a challenge. What is it showing up to teach you? So it's about becoming a professional question asker with everybody, but with yourself. Like, what is this here to teach me? And then going into meditation and letting that bring up whatever it is. Maybe it's a limited belief. Maybe you need to process it through somebody. Maybe this group is the perfect place for you to get in here and say, hey, I had this obstacle show up in my life, or I have this problem, or I have this issue, or I'm feeling unmotivated, and let people help you process through this so that you can actually see why this is showing up for you, because everything is actually showing up for you. And when you begin to look at life as everything is happening for you and not to you, that really shifts your perspective on everything. And then you're like, oh, this is happening for me. Let me ask, what is the reason why this is happening for me? And then you can move through it, and you can feel a little more empowered, and you might even feel yourself kind of move up a little bit in all areas of your life, actually. Okay, so Amanda's asking a question about how she can be a better trauma-informed mentor. And so one of the things that I think is really cool about Amanda, what she's doing, is she's doing this one-on-one. And so if you're not doing this, one of the things that I would do is I would go in and create a rapport with these kids. I would create a rapport, build, if you're allowed, and I don't know, what that is in this type of area, and find out about them. What do they want? Teach them how to change their state. And especially if they're in an environment where they're not being supported, changing the state is critical, because more than likely, again, it goes back to they're not able to create something new from the same energetic state that what the situation they're in right now was created. So teach them how to change their state. Find out what they want and encourage them that they can do that. There are 4, let me see, I wrote them down here. The 4 requirements for change. These are 4 requirements for change that NLP teaches, that you release negative emotions, limiting beliefs, and that you forgive. That you create goals to create a compelling future. That's really important, is that you have clarity on where it is that you're going. So goals are super important. And that you act consistently and intentionally every single day towards those goals. So one of the things that I always ask people is, like I have clients sometimes that will reach out to me and it's totally off topic. I'm like, you told me your goal was this and you're calling me with this. Like, what are you giving energy to? So bringing that energy back to the goal is super, super important. And it's going to be super important for these kids. Focus on what you want. And that is, what is the energy? What is the energy that you want to bring about? How do they want to feel? That's really, really important. That goes back to the question about the affirmations too, is how do you want to feel? Because I think so many times we miss the feeling part. The feeling part is the most important part. We can say affirmations all day long, but until we really feel into it, that's the change of state. The change of state is in moving of the emotional energy. Okay. Does that make sense, Amanda? Building rapport with these kids, finding out what they want, and teaching them how to change their state. That's really, I feel like if you can do those 3 things, then it's going to be so critical. Imagine them learning how to change their state, and in that state, in a different state, in a more joyful, happy, excited state, then they could then say, okay, this is what I want, and then see the possibilities, and then you're there to cheer them on that it is in fact possible. All right, next question. How do you address self-doubt? How do you quiet your mind to find clarity? Okay, so 2 things here. Number 1 is meditation. And Joe Dispenza, if you look up Joe Dispenza on YouTube or any of his books, he talks a lot about meditation. He actually has some meditations that you can buy. Meditation is so important for calming the mind. There's so much free information out there on meditations. YouTube is full of guided meditations. So meditate to calm your mind. And here's the thing, if you've never meditated before, release all expectations, all judgments, just release them all, okay? Set a timer for 2 minutes, and for 2 minutes, just sit down and focus on your breathing. Or, you know what I'm saying? Find a guided meditation. Don't try to go all in and do a 20-minute meditation, because all you're gonna do is get frustrated, and that is not the point here at all. So release all judgment, release all criticism, but practice. Practice is the key to all of this. Discipline, practice. If I told you today that if you began a meditation practice today and you practiced it every single day until the end of 2019, and whatever you wrote on your list of goals at the beginning of 2019, the last day of 2019, you had reached every single one of those goals because you meditated every day, would you meditate every day? Would you meditate every day? Most people don't understand the value of meditation because they don't understand the value of meditation. So try it. Can't hurt. And people tell me all the time, I can't meditate. And then I turn them into meditators because it is important. And it's been around since the beginning of the time. It's mentioned in books all throughout history, including the Bible talks about meditation. So clear your mind. Clear your mind is so important. The other big thing is breathing. So again, pick a breathing technique that works well for you. For me, I love Wim Hof. It's W-I-M-H-O-F. You can look him up on YouTube as well. Wim Hof takes you to elevated states of consciousness. And not only does he take you to elevated states of consciousness in which you can shift your energy and get into an energetic state, but you can also, it's great for the physical body. So it works along all planes, mental, emotional, physical, and I believe spiritually too. So if you're looking for a way to never get sick again, check out Wim Hof because he's pretty freaking amazing. And then when you're doing the breathing and the meditation, it just, maybe you can go into it asking a question. One of the other big things is, for me, is I've done some dream work. So I'll ask questions before I go to sleep at night that I want to know the answer to. And then I'll ask to remember my dreams, and then I wake up in the morning and my dream will kind of give me great in detail into maybe some things that I need to change that are going on in my life. Okay, Heather says, I've been doing a lot of mindset work, raising my vibration. I want to pass this along to team members without being too pushy. Okay, so this is really important. I'm going to share a little story that goes along with this one. This is building a culture. What is the culture of this team? And I don't know what this team looks like, so it's hard for me to say, but Is there a cause that you can get around and support? Is there a culture? What are the values? What are your values? What are their values? How well do you know each other? How well of a rapport have you created with them where they can be vulnerable with you? Are you intentional about creating a rapport with them? Do you know what it is they want? And so I have a friend of mine who owns a commercial cleaning company. And he came to me one day and said, you know, it's really hard to get employees to stick because employees come in, they're cleaning, maybe they don't want to clean for the rest of their life, so they'll come in and they clean until they get a better job and they're leaving me. He's like, I really want to create something where these employees will come around and they feel like a part of a family and they want to stick and they want to work with me and they want to make an actual career out of this, like, because he treats them really well and he does all kinds of stuff and has lots of perks and benefits. And so I asked him, well, what is the culture that you're creating? And do you know what these employees want? Because for a lot of people, it's not about the work that they do. It's about how they feel. It's about what they want to provide for their family. It's about what they want to provide or do in their lives. What are their goals? So we actually created a program where I ended up sitting down with his employees and finding out what they want. And we built a list of what is it they actually want out of their life. And then I could go back to him and say, this is what they want. And so then he could figure out a way to give them everything that it is that they want, you know, unless they were trying to move on to a different career, which in some cases he actually helped provide them the tools and training to be able to move on and get that career. And then what that did for him is that made him feel like he was doing good in the world. He was adding value to the world. It wasn't necessarily about him. It's about what he's contributing back to the world. So he created this culture. He created this environment in which people enjoyed working there and they felt like he valued them as a human being, not just an employee, and they got really clear on what they wanted, and then we devised a plan to help them get what they wanted, and then everybody came in and we saw retention rates like skyrocket, and these employees began to love working for this commercial cleaning company. So what is it that you're creating with this small group of people? What are the values? What do they want? What is the culture? And holding safe space. It's not about you projecting your ideas onto them. It's about you holding safe space for them to come to you vulnerably and share with you what it is you want. And then from that space where you have a rapport built with them, you can say, okay, here's the way to do that. Does that make sense? Because then it's like getting that business card, right? You're not going out asking for business cards. They're coming to you, asking you for what you have. This is an interesting question from Joe. Can carrying a chip on your shoulder become negative? Yes, let it go. I don't need to say any more about that one, but reality is everything only has the meaning you give it. What is this chip that you're carrying on your shoulder and why do you have it? Is it a programming? Is it you feel that the world owes you something? What is the energy behind it? So you're either operating from a fear energy or you're operating from a love energy, and you can't be operating from both at the same time. And I don't know you and I don't know what this chip is that you have on your shoulder. So I'm definitely not here to judge you, but I'm here to say you gotta let it go. You gotta understand where this came from and that it's not serving you and you can't turn it into something good because the energy behind it. If you said to me, the energy behind this is love, and I'm carrying this chip on my shoulder because I want to love more people, then maybe I could get behind it. But your energy precedes you. So again, like, how are you going out into the world with this chip on your shoulder? What is the energy behind that chip? I would just suggest letting it go because everybody, including you, is doing the very best that they can with the resources they have. And there's really no need to have a chip on your shoulder. And I'm happy to go into this in more detail if you have a deeper question about this. Which books, programs, etc. do you recommend to learn? What have I used to deepen my understanding and or learning? Again, this goes back to YouTube University. This group is a great, like, get in here, ask questions in here. There are mentors that are in here specifically for you to help you to elevate your life. And I believe that Shawn has covered all the bases. So whether it's health or your mindset or whatever it is, jump in here and ask questions and really utilize this group to help you elevate your life. For me, I worked with a coach. It was vital because I don't know what I don't know. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? I don't know what I don't know. And this is where the only way to transform is through awareness. So you can become a professional question asker of yourself and ask yourself these questions that will help you get to a deeper level of understanding about yourself. And meditation will also help you do that. So I do a lot of meditating, a lot of breathing. I go to a lot of events and workshops. I don't so much now as I did in the very beginning. I think over a course of like 3 years, I probably got 5 or 6 different certifications in holistic health and wellness and nutrition, and because my background was in fitness, so I did a lot in fitness and CrossFit, and I had loads of different certifications around fitness, and then I went into life coaching and NLP, and it just continued on because I'm hungry for knowledge and for learning and for growth. And so once you kind of get on the path, then you're just, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So you're in the right place, you're in the perfect place. Just trust that everything that you need is going to show up to you. And if something speaks to you, then maybe you can look into it a little bit more. Books, my favorite books have been, I mentioned The Untethered Soul. That's a really powerful book. You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, because it was actually a series of events that happened in my life. But one of the big ones for me was I was competitive. I was an athlete and big into CrossFit, and I had a personal training studio, and my health literally went from like being in the best shape of my life on top of the world to one day I found myself in the hospital and I couldn't function. My whole endocrine system started shutting down on me. So that's when I really started diving deep into the mind-body connection, and I had to heal my mind and my subconscious mind and end up healing like childhood trauma. So that's kind of how I got on the path, right? That's how I got into where I am today. So whatever path you're on, just trust that the resources and the tools and the people and everything that you need to get to the next level is going to show up for you as long as you stay intentional and consistent on this path. Let's see. I read a lot of books. That's been huge for me. Okay, Ian says, what's the most efficient way to get a small team in the right mindset so they are in sync? Yep, and that goes back to what I mentioned a little bit earlier about creating a culture in the team, creating a culture, understanding the values first. If you're the leader of the team, you creating your values and you relating these values to other people, find out their goals, find out what they want. And again, I'm really big on experiences, which is why I do some of the other work that I do with the trips that I do, because experiences take you out of your routine. They take you out of your, they eliminate distractions. And so that's that changing of your state. It's really, really important. So maybe you take your team and you get out into nature, or you go hiking, or you go do something different, and you build rapport, you build relationships with them so that there's that level of vulnerability where they can open up to you so you can understand how to actually help them. And then you're creating this synergy within the team, right? And everybody's being up-leveled, and everybody wants to be up-leveled because they're all on the same page, maybe working towards a cause. So any other questions? Because I think I've answered all the questions that you guys have given today. This was fun. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope I answered your questions. If I didn't answer your question and you want to post it in the thread here, then maybe I can come back later and type some things out. But yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. And thanks for being here. Thanks for watching live. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in here soon. Bye.